I'll take that as a cheer for Heavenly Mother. So, I don't know where you all usually spend your Saturday mornings. My Saturday mornings are usually spent on the sideline of a soccer field. I pull up my ubiquitous American camp chair. My husband's from India. The first time he saw these like rods of metal with some colored cloth, he's like, "What are those? And what do they do in the back of our car?" And I said, "We're gonna use them everywhere." So we pull out our camp chairs, we line up on the sideline, and we watch the 8-year-olds kind of scrum around the field, right? My youngest daughter's 8, she loves soccer. Now, she's not here today, so I can tell you a little secret between me and my 3,000 new best friends. She's never going pro. Recently, she got asked to play the goalie. And I was a little worried about this because to be a good goalie, you have to be a little touched in the head. And my kid is super reasonable. So the first game she plays, she does great. She saves 6 or 7 and gets 1 past her, right? So I go up to her at the end of the game and I say, "Hey, how did you feel about that? How was that?" And she said, "Well, it was really fun to drop on the balls and stop them, but when that fast one came, I did not want to be in front of it." You can see why D1 schools are not knocking down my door, right? But as I was sitting on the sideline in my camp chair, I was thinking, my kid is never gonna pay me back for this, right? She's not gonna go play in high school, or she might play in high school. She's not gonna play in college, she's not gonna play pro, she's not gonna give me back all the money I've spent on cleats, shin guards, uniforms, trying to keep track. The mental energy to keep track of if you're red this weekend or white this weekend, like that alone is a thing, right? Like she is never gonna pay me back for any of this. So why do I do this? And honestly, it was easy. As her mother, I know that investing in her soul is good for her. It's good for her to use her body and learn a new skill and to make friends and fall down and have to get back up. It's good for her soul. And as her mother, I want to invest in her soul. Then one afternoon, as I'm sitting there watching the game going on, it occurred to me, when did I stop investing in my soul? When did women stop thinking it was important to invest in our souls? Because it happens all the time. A woman came up to me and said, "I'd love to go back to graduate school, but honestly, there's no ROI. Like, I won't make enough money to justify the input for me to have to go back to school." Another woman tells me, "I'd love to take an art class, but I just can't swing it. I'm so busy, I just can't even take a class." Or my mother, who when I was in college, I said, "Hey, I can see you're really burned out. Why don't you take the afternoon and I'll watch the kids and I got this." And she said, "I don't even know what I would do with myself if I had an hour that wasn't spent running errands for the family." Women have forgotten that we need to invest in our souls. And the reason this matters is because the Gospel Topics essay, our doctrine on Heavenly Mother, says that Heavenly Mother is our eternal prototype for women, our divine destiny. And the reason soul investment matters is because there's a gap between my soul and Heavenly Mother's soul. And filling that gap is what's gonna get me to be back with my heavenly parents. Now, you can fill that gap. You can do lots of soul investment as a mother, don't get me wrong, or as serving people, as being involved. But a friend of mine said it really well. She said, "I'm the mother of 9 children. My soul muscles, my mother soul muscles are really strong. But my God-given talents of art and theater and music, God-given talents, I buried in the field of being busy." We know what happens in the scriptures with a guy who buries his talents, right? So if women are to become our divine eternal prototype, our divine destiny, we have to invest in our souls. Now, I heard a podcast. Yep, that's what we're cheering for. I heard a podcast where Kate Holbrook and her husband talked about how they set an account aside for Kate's soul investment. They call it professional development, but I call it soul investment. They said they chose to drive a car that was a used, older car, and the gap in that money they put into account. Because as Kate's husband explained, she felt really guilty taking family money for resources for what she wanted, so they just put it in a separate account. She felt better about accessing it. They literally set aside an account, rearranged their family to set aside an account so Kate would have this. Now, soul investment does not require money, but it does require time and intentionality. That same mother with the 9 kids whose talents she felt were atrophying has determined that Thursday nights are mom's soul investment night. And it's about 4 o'clock, she's gathered the kids, they're home from school, she goes to her bedroom and locks the door. She has an easel set up in there, she spends some time painting, she spends some time practicing singing, and on the outside of the door, her big kids and her husband make sure that homework and dinner and bedtime is all done. Because soul investment takes intentionality and support, time. Let me tell you an amazing story, though, about what happens with soul investment. So when Bethany and I were working on the Girls' Guide to Heavenly Mother, at that point in time, there were only 5 images of Heavenly Mother that we could find. I mean, maybe there's some flying under the radar, but we needed like 50 images for the Girls and Boys Guide. So it became my job to round up images, generate images of Heavenly Mother. And I saw this one amazing piece of art of Soraya, and I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder what this artist could do for Heavenly Mother. So Bethany calls me the holy harasser. So I track down the artist's name, I figure out who's painting this, I get her on the phone, I say, hey, I would love to see what you can do with a Heavenly Mother. This would be amazing. And she's like, haha. I said, that's all right, I'll call you back tomorrow. So I call her back tomorrow, and I said, now that you've had time to think about it, like, are you excited about this? Do you want to do this? And she said, no. I talked to my husband. We have little kids. Like, I only have a few hours a week to paint. Like, I can't pull off something of that scale. Like, I can't disrupt my family that way. And I said, well, I'm a creative problem solver. Do you need a babysitter? Do you need a model? Do you need, like, what, like paints? Like, work with me here. And she started laughing. This is when the harassment part comes in, right? And she said, give me another day or 2. Let me think about it. So I bide my time, 2 days. And I call her back again. I say, so, what do you think? This time, the tenor of the conversation was completely different. And she said, I might cry. My husband woke up this morning, and he told me he'd been given a vision, that in the night he had a dream where our heavenly parents told him it was so important that I paint this painting of Heavenly Mother that he had to do everything in his power to make it happen. That it was... She said he has taken on more cooking, more babysitting, more laundry, more of everything for the next 4 months so that I can paint this painting. And I sat there and I thought, our heavenly parents care so much about our soul development, so much about this, that they're willing to reorganize this entire family's life for a period of months. And it made me wonder about my soul development. My heavenly parents care about my soul development. They care about yours and yours and yours and yours and yours. They care about your soul. So why does Heavenly Mother matter? Heavenly Mother matters because women's souls matter. Now there's a friend of mine in the audience who agreed to let me tell this story if I agree not to shine a spotlight on his head. You'll see why. So about a year ago, he and I were chit-chatting, and he said, okay, I get it. Heavenly Mother matters for women. She's their destiny. She's their vision. You're going to become a mother in the heavens. I get it. I get why it matters to women. But why does Heavenly Mother matter to me as a man? No spotlight on his head, right? And I laughed because, one, it's both a very silly question and a very important question. So the silly bit, of course, is that I happen to know this man's mother only by reputation. And I said, well, from what I've heard, if your earthly mama heard you say, what do mothers matter anyway, she would tan your hide. Figuratively, not advocating violence. And I thought about this. We hear, like, no one in our society would ever say, Mothers don't matter. What's the big deal with mothers? Who cares about a mother? Mothers don't matter anyway. You're never going to hear that. And yet I frequently hear, yeah, Heavenly Mother's our doctrine, but what does it really matter? What's the big deal? So I want to talk about why Heavenly Mother matters to men. And the reason that was not just a silly question, but an important question, is in my experience, the doctrine of Heavenly Mother somehow resonates more easily with women. Now, I know there's exceptions. 4 of you sent me an email about why you love Heavenly Mother. Yes, there's exceptions. But generally, women find this very easy to understand and get and be excited about and to feel lifted by. And I find that men don't always feel that same lift, that same easy resonance. I have the sales data to support this. Our girls and boys guides sell at a 2-to-1 ratio because women walk up to the table and they say, oh, a girl's guide to Heavenly Mother? Okay, I'll take one for me, and I'll take one for my daughters and one for my sons. Don't touch mama's copy, right? I have never once yet seen a man walk up and say, oh, a boy's guide to Heavenly Mother? I need one of those for myself, and I'll take the other 2 for my kids. They literally sell at a 2-to-1 ratio. So I think it's worth talking about. It's an important question. Why does Heavenly Mother matter for men? And I think there's 3 important things. But first, let's learn from the Gospel Topics essay a little bit. Let's learn from our doctrine. There's 4 phrases in there that change our world in revolutionary ways. The Gospel Topics essay says that Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother together designed the plan of salvation. It talks about they work side by side. It says they work together for the salvation of their children. It says that they are the divine pattern. If we applied those doctrines to the world, it would be revolutionary. The existence of Heavenly Mother teaches us that the supreme order of the universe is men and women working together as equals. That is not the model the world has tried to hand us. But we, with our restored gospel knowledge, understand this is the truth of the universe. It would be revolutionary if we applied it in our lives. But, revolutionary, smevolutionary. Let's talk about 3 practical ways that this changes things. One of them is if you're going to build. If you are a man who's interested in building anything, if you're interested in building a family or a business or an operation or a project, you have to work with the divine pattern. If you don't have women involved, you're only working with half the pattern. Now, Bethany and I were so excited about this, we wrote In the Image of Our Heavenly Parents, a couple's guide to a more divine marriage. There's obvious applications for a heterosexual marriage in this, but there's applications beyond that as too. Let's just talk about this building. Whenever there's a break, if you look over to your side and you see the line for the women's restroom versus the line for the men's restroom, that is the definition of lopsided building. So if you're a man who wants to build, or a woman, of course, you need the full pattern of men and women. Second, this was fascinating. Northwest University did a survey of 6.6 million papers, and they found that when you had to solve a complex problem, a problem that required innovation, out-of-the-box thinking, teamwork, working together, the teams who always performed the best, always, were teams made of equal numbers of men and women. Not women teams, not men teams, not token mix in there, but equal numbers of men and women solve complex problems the best. Now, what have we been talking about the last couple of days? Do you think this world has any complex problems it's trying to solve? Do you think this might be useful information in solving those problems? Third, it has application even beyond our own problem solving. Dr. Valerie Hudson did research and discovered that countries that treat women more equitably, by and large, thrive better. They have lower rates of war, lower rates of disease, higher levels of education, better health, that people live longer. So for your own very own self-interest, you should understand why this matters. Heavenly Mother matters because she sets the existence of our deities working together as equal partners. That matters. As Bethany and I run around and do firesides and events and we do things, people tell us stories about their experience with Heavenly Mother. It is awe-inspiring. A man told me a story about a vision that he'd seen of Heavenly Mother. A woman told me of Heavenly Mother coming to her in childbirth. Another woman told me about Heavenly Mother and her patriarchal blessing. Beautiful, beautiful stories of Heavenly Mother. And as these stories kept coming in faster and faster and faster, finally I had to say, whoa, like my brain should not be the repository of all these stories. These stories need to be known and out there. And so we decided to do the book Cherish, where we talk about, it's like a Sunday school class, where we say, here's what our doctrine is, and here's our thoughts and feelings and art, like we do with tithing. Here's the doctrine on tithing. What's your experience with this? So we did the book Cherish, where we do all of the different doctrines that we find from the gospel topics essay, and then we do people's experiences with them. We have only 300 entrants. Oh, I forgot. I needed a flyer in my hand. So this is like a side note public relations announcement, right? The second Cherish book just closed for submissions, but my co-authors said, you're going to Restore. Can we open it up just for the Restore people? So if you have a desire to be in Cherish 2, to contribute art, thoughts, poetry, a verse, a sentence, we would love to have your contribution. Now, I know there's somebody in this audience who just thought, I sure would love to be part of that, but I'm not a writer. I can't do that. I can't pull that together. I know someone thought that. So get a hold of me, because I 100% promise that in a conversation between us, we can work out some contribution so that your love of Heavenly Mother can be present as well. So let me close with the story that put me over the top, the story that made me think this has to be a book. I was sitting in church in Brooklyn, New York, and a woman came up to me and said, I heard you're McArthur Krishna. Can I tell you my story of Heavenly Mother? Bring it, right? She said that she had been praying to how to be a peacemaker, to have a change of heart, to become more Christ-like in loving people different than her. This was her prayer. And then one day, she found herself in the pharmacy aisle of Walmart in Rexburg, Idaho. Heavenly Mother can find you anywhere. So she said she was standing there and she had this rising awareness of every single person in that Walmart. She said, I could tell that there was some guy in the back corner buying a gun, and there's a woman over here working on her grocery shopping list, and some kid on aisle 27 is having a meltdown. But she said, I had all of these rising awareness of all of these souls, all of these people different than me gathered in this one Walmart. And as she felt this awareness, she felt a rising sense of love. So overwhelming, she said it almost knocked her to the ground. And then a voice came to her mind, and it said, she said, now you know a very small portion of the love I feel for my children as their mother. So, in this world of polarization and the need for peacemaking, wouldn't it be nice if we could carry the literal knowledge with us that everyone around us is a brother and a sister, that everyone around us is beloved of God? So today, I'd like to leave you with that invitation. Just let it sink into you. Feel swaddled by it. Let it reach your soul. You are loved by a brother and a father and a mother. Heavenly Mother matters because she teaches us about the familial relationship of God. We are their children, beloved children. So, I invite you to feel the joy of that. It is joyous. And once you feel the joy, share the joy. Thank you.